What's up? Welcome to Just Chill.
So
what kind of questions do you have?
Wait, first you have to
Are you
introduce
recording
yourself.
yet?
Yeah, I am.
Oh.
First,
Wonderful.
I know. Okay, I'm here with my two best friends, Britney and Brady. Don't
Hello?
get that close. Brady's my brother. Brittany's my stepsister.
No, that'd be weird.
Sister-in-law.
I hope you edit that
Stop
out.
getting so close. Just kidding. Okay, so first, we'll just introduce. Just tell the listeners about yourself.
My name's Brady.
Stop. Describe your favorite day.
I'm Alexis' brother.
Mm-hmm. He's the funniest, but I'm more
I
funniest.
loved it when I got married. That was my favorite day. Because we went to Hyde
You
Park.
don't have to lean in every second.
I mean, because I love my wife, and that was the day we got married.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
My perfect day would be sleeping in.
No, that's not what she said.
Yeah,
she
favorite
said, describe
day.
your favorite day.
Describe your
Doesn't
favorite
that
day.
Favorite day that I've had, or
Yeah,
just
that you've
Well,
had,
I
that
was
you
just thinking,
experienced.
well, probably it's 70 degrees.
right. I was gonna
You were
say
thinking, describe your perfect day?
I think favorite day. Well,
The day
That
I
I've
got
ever
married.
had.
I was thinking maybe both of
The
what
day
you're
I got
talking
married.
about.
I would say favorite previous day would be probably the day I got married and the
Wow.
day that Brooklyn was born. That was a fun day. And the day that we brought Brianna home was also up there too. So that was just a different dynamic. But my favorite day was probably the day we got married.
Great days.
But
What's a good day?
the ideal day would be sleeping in, eating donuts for breakfast,
What kind?
Without any children around.
honey dip
True.
from Timmy Ho's.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say
And
70,
a
80 degree
big
weather.
breakfast burrito.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No kids around.
No
Forget
kids
the
around.
kids.
Just lounging.
We don't even
Casually
like kids.
shopping.
Don't even want kids.
I don't know why
Yeah.
we had kids. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
We'll leave them here.
Anybody want any kids?
What's your next question?
They're here to talk to us about relationships because they're the smartest people on this subject and they have so much to say because they're the wisest also. You thought Solomon was wise?
I didn't think so.
Forget it. Okay.
But you wanted to know
Yeah, you
How
ask yourself the question.
we stayed pure in our relationship before we got married.
Yeah.
And it was so difficult.
Brady's
That's
one
for
of those.
sure.
Brady's one of the pastors, even though he's not a pastor. He's one of those pastors where they get up there and they have to mention their hot wife.
Yeah.
That's Brady. Every conversation, man. So
Like Judah Smith. Does he
my
do
hot
that?
wife. I think he said it once, and I was like, should I listen to him anymore? But I still.
He just had to sneak it in there once.
Yeah.
At least
Disappointing.
once.
Anyway, it was like the most difficult thing that I've ever done in my whole life because my word is it a long time between when you start your passionate relationship and when you can actually get married. It's ridiculous.
How long was your dating?
Yeah,
marriage?
we were like together dating and engaged for like a year and 8 months.
We dated for 8 months, and then we were engaged for a year.
Yeah, it was
Terrible idea.
I know you have to. That's what I'm saying. You have to get engaged and then married within a week.
Yeah,
Is
that's
ideal.
Still
yeah,
low.
that would be ideal.
Yeah.
You gotta like know that God wants you to get married to this person, and then get married in like a week.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it can't be like, oh man, I think she's really pretty. Yeah, I think you're really cute too, and then you get married.
Yeah.
Because then you're just in a lot of trouble.
Right.
You gotta know that it's God.
Seth said that it was like maybe the day before he was getting married. You probably know it better because you guys are best friends. But didn't he say that he like it just like all hits you and you're like, wait, I'm gonna have to spend the rest of my life with this person. Is this real?
I would say that even when we were dating, we were both ready mentally and spiritually for that. So we already knew that we wanted to do that. And I think we both entered into that aspect of our relationship knowing that we wanted to make that commitment, and we already knew that like marriage is not glitter and rainbows in Disney World all the time. We knew it was going to be hard, but we were willing to go on that journey and that endeavor together. So I think we already knew before we got married. I don't think I ever had a time where I was like, oh my gosh, I have to live with this one man, this guy forever, every day for the rest of my days.
Nah, we were just excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, purity is the fight of your life. That's for sure.
If you think of those Rocky speeches, put them in context of purity.
Yeah, but you kind of, it feels like forever, but when you finally get there, it is so worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that statement.
Okay.
It's going to be like eternity if you lived your life for Jesus' sake.
What do you mean?
I mean your eternal rewards.
Oh, I see.
Like there are a lot of people who live really garbage lives for Jesus' sake and go through a whole lot for Jesus' sake. And then when they get to eternity, I'm sure their rewards in heaven are incredible and out of control, which is where it's actually going to matter.
Wow.
The harder the fight, the better the rewards are.
Wow, that seriously puts so much in perspective for me. Whoa. I think like sometimes young Christians get married so fast because they like just want to have sex, obviously. It's like their main reason probably. But then I think like I was listening to a Judah Smith sermon, and he was some like engaged couples were talking to him, and they're like, I understand that God says to remain pure before marriage, but it's like we're engaged and we know we're going to get married. Just like, why? Besides that God said so, why do we have to do it if we're like going to be married anyway? So for you guys to put it in perspective that it's like, yeah, but that's like God said so.
So that's everything.
So that's that is the reason, and that's like your reward.
Yeah.
In heaven,
like,
because you're obeying.
I have fought a good fight. I have kept the purity.
Right.
You know?
Wow. That put a lot in perspective.
Good. Yeah, because marriage is a picture of Jesus and the church. So it just makes sense that like waiting until you get married is a picture of us and Jesus in eternity.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So it's
Oh
the
my
fight of
gosh.
your life, but it's worth it.
But it's worth it.
Just like eternity will be for the things that we go through here.
After the fight. After the fight of your life.
It is a serious, it's a war. It's a daily war.
Right.
For sure.
Wow.
Just like dying to self is a daily battle that's going to matter in eternity.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so how did we do it? We did our best to set up boundaries and adhere to those as closely as possible. We tried to be around other people.
That's what Hannah talked
Often.
about. She's like, don't be an idiot and hang out alone.
Yeah. Because that's going to be a really, really difficult situation. That's giving occasion to the flesh, if
Right.
you will.
And like trusting
Which
yourself.
is in
even,
the Bible.
It's biblical. And it's like trusting yourself when like you know your flesh is untrustworthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so.
And it's looking ahead to the reward and the benefit of waiting. Because that's what got me through is like, why would I throw this away now? Why would I do this with this man that I truly love that's a gift from God? Why would I do that to him? So it's not even like, why would I do this myself? Why would I do that to him?
Yeah.
That came to my mind a lot. Was I don't want to do this to him. I don't want to squander this gift that he's been saving for me his whole life, or I mean, you know, most of his life for me. Why would I why would I toss that in the trash now?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So I recognized that it was a gift from not only God, but also from Brady. So that is what helped me a lot, was looking forward with like this hope and this anticipation of, I know that God's going to bless this because like he has waited and God has allowed this to happen for us.
Yeah.
So that's what got me through, is having that mindset of, this is a gift, this is a blessing, this is a treasure, and why would I throw it in the trash?
Right.
So
wow, that's good.
That was deep.
I lay my heart on an altar of grace. So clearly now I see your face. With eyes that burn with your love for me. You call me child, you set me free. I run like wildfire, set ablaze, so amazed by the things you've done for me. I run like wildfire, set ablaze, so amazed by the things you've done for me.
Okay, so one time on one podcast I talked about success.
Oh, success.
And how, okay, so I'm a recent graduate, and like in this time of life, you can like feel you're like striving for success, and, like whatever that looks like. And a lot of people that I know who are like the same time, around the same age, and like in the same like period of life, feel like they're like in a waiting period because we don't really know like what we all want and like what our passions are, so we're just like trying to get money and like figure it out, I guess. But then it's like, but then I'm also thinking like, well, do I feel like a failure because I'm not like where I want to be, or like where
Other
society,
people are.
yeah, or like where other people are, like because I'm not like, I don't know, a restaurant owner or something like that. Like I don't want to do that. Yeah, but it's more like comparison, I guess, like you're comparing yourself. Anyway, so
What do we define as success? Jesus.
I was gonna say that's a very involved answer. Unless you just say Jesus. Like
That's what
but what does that
comes
mean?
down to for me. I'll tell you what it means. It means doing things that are very difficult to do, like adopting a kid, for example, or like
staying pure.
staying pure for Christ's sake, and giving money that you made, being generous with your money and with your time, and like not doing things for yourself, but like doing things that you know are going to benefit other people, even when you really don't want to. Because like I've told lots of people, like I probably would hardly hang out with anybody else. Like I wouldn't probably do much but hang out at home with my wife and my kids all the time if it weren't for my love for Christ. So he's the reason why I am in a life group and am involved at church and hang out with other people that don't necessarily love Jesus. All that.
Yeah, I was listening to like a sermon, I guess, Texas A&M, and they were talking about like conformity and how like instead of conform to the patterns of the world or what everyone says, like what the world says we should be, like even those we surround ourselves with, like we're supposed to conform to to Christ, and like as a Christ follower. And so that would be like literally just living for Christ, doing everything to bring him glory.
Yeah, and it's really hard not to get sucked into the affairs of this life and to see other people who do make a lot of money and have big houses or whatever and think, man, his wife must be so happy, or her husband must be so happy because of money and things in this life. when I don't care too much for money. Money can't buy me love.
Well, I was so on a more practical note, I grew up in a house where we did have lots of money. My dad made lots of money. And by the world standards, my dad is very successful. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And I think in that time frame, in our previous generation, that's a successful thing for a mom to be a stay-at-home mom. Uh-huh. That's not the case anymore. Like, to be successful to the world, you have to be a working mom, keep your house clean, keep people and your kids fed with the nicest stuff, and you have to work a full-time job, and your husband has to work a full-time job, and blah, 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 blah. So I grew up in that environment of a worldly successful, I guess, categorized world, whatever. So, but that doesn't mean that was what made us happy.
Right.
So now my perspective is that now that I am married and have a job and have kids, like, I deem success as obviously living for Christ, but I think more than that, and from a more practical perspective, it's you use whatever God has blessed you with to the utmost. Yeah. So if he gave you the gifts to allow you to stay at home, be a stay-at-home mom and raise your children and be the best wife that you can be and be within that role that has been lined out in Scripture for you, that to me is success. If he has given you the talents and abilities and the capabilities or whatever you want to say to be a working mom, but you still fulfill your roles as mom and wife, you know, and you're still able to be involved in the church and be mentors for other people, and just whatever that means, I think it's fulfilling whatever God has laid out for you specifically, and you are trying to achieve that to the utmost. That to me is what success is, because this society just looks at money, the size of your house, the square footage, the cars that you drive, the programs that your kids are in, whatever. That's the world. And like, so for you guys being young or whatever, it shouldn't be about what type of degree you have or how much money, or if you're even being in a career. Not every job is a career. Like, I have a career. Like, I'm a nurse. Like, fine. Brady, even though he could technically be in this career, like, track, because he's in banking and investments, it's not a career to him. Because to him, a job is always going to be just a job for him. But that's just his personality, and that's fine. That's not for everybody. But he still does his job to the utmost, because that's what Christ called him to do. So, in my view, that's success. So it doesn't have to be like what type of job you have, or like what if you start a career or don't. Like, that's not what matters. It's whatever God has laid out for you, and you pursue that with the best of your ability, and for him, like, not for yourself and not for other people. That was a long-winded answer.
Seriously.
Sorry.
Let's just pause for applause. So good. That is so true, though. Like, it always just ends. I feel like everything, if you never are, like, satisfied in what you're doing, it's probably because you're comparing yourself to something or someone.
Yeah.
It always, like, ends up being comparison.
And Paul said, don't compare yourself to other people.
Because you can at any phase of your life. No matter where you are, it doesn't matter. Satan's going to get you somehow, somewhere. I think I've told you this, Alexis, or I know I've at least told, like, Jesse, like, even for someone, like, in our position that, okay, we got married, so we, like, achieved that. Yeah. Or whatever. Okay, then we had kids. Okay, so we got to that thing, too. Like, you know how, like, everyone says, well, I just wish I could be married. Okay, now I just wish I could have kids. Okay, well, I did all that. So what could Satan possibly use? You know what I mean? But then, like, when we only had Brooklyn, and Brooklyn was 2, and it seemed like everyone else was having baby number 2. Yeah. I'm like, well, we're not having baby number 2. Huh. Is there something wrong with us?
And then we adopted Brianna, and now we have reached our goal.
But
now we have achieved success.
But she's not a baby from Uganda, so did you really?
Did we really? Did we go all out like we should have?
Yeah.
Well,
it's not the classic 2018 Christian family, but it's okay. You're still getting there. Next kid.
Right.
Make sure.
Well, it all depends on how you define success.
Right.
But what I'm saying
success
is that that's silly. Like, it was just a silly thing. Like, why should it matter if we are having baby 2 just like everyone else is right now? That's dumb.
It's okay to be afraid. It's alright when it's so soon. It's so soon. Come and feel it's just for real. Come alive when it's so soon. It's so soon. We're afraid to set sail. We're afraid to exhale. Afraid of adventure. We just stumble and stall till we crumble and crawl back to our shelter. It's enough that he's here. It's enough that he knows our frame. We are bound to the end on a journey through fire and rain.
Because I remember, because you guys always seemed like you had the most, like, perfect relationship, but then you'd both be like, marriage is hard. You'd be like, what? How is it possibly hard? You both are perfect for each other and love each other so well. How could it possibly be hard for you?
Well, God clearly placed us together, but we are...
2 humans.
Yeah, 2 selfish human beings. As we all are. So, basically...
Sometimes I want to punch it.
Basically, the better you get over yourself, the better your relationship is going to be.
Yeah.
And Andy Stanley said, you can be right a lot, or you can have a good relationship. You're not going to have both. Because it doesn't matter if everyone else in the world agrees with you. If she thinks that you did something that was hurtful, then that's her reality, and you need to adjust to that. Also, when I was in a class, a psychology class, a psychology of relationships, I think it was, and these psychologists who had been marriage counselors for years and years and years did a study, and they found that the number one most important thing in any relationship was selflessness.
Just kidding.
Yikes.
That's funny.
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. Go on.
That was number 2. They found that it was selflessness, which is weird because it was a secular study.
Right.
It had nothing to do with Jesus whatsoever. And yet they found that that was the number one key to a happy marriage was selflessness and how good you are at getting over yourself. Isn't that interesting? Because that's what Jesus said to do. That's what has given us success where we have been in the few times that we've had success in our marriage.
The few times.
I think we had, like I said, we knew going in that marriage would be hard and it would be a fight and it would be under constant attack by Satan because it was supposed to be a reflection of Christ in the church and we wanted it to be that. So we knew going in. So we had realistic expectations. And then also I would say part of it is Brady is the leader in the relationship. So spiritually as well as just in general, and I feel like that is very important, and it's very hard in this day and age for women to accept that because of just how feminist things are. And I used to be that way, and I was like, submission, that's a joke. But I get it, and it's actually very, very freeing to be in that role.
What does it mean?
So, I mean, what does it mean?
Because honestly, this is like a really good thing to, I guess, learn, because whenever you say feminist, then people are like, that's not biblical and stuff. But then if you say to the non-Christians, I guess, like submission, and people are like, that's disgusting. Why would you ever want to do that? And so if you, I guess, explain.
So I mean, a lot of people think it's just you're being a doormat and you're just opening yourself up to, you know, a continuum of anything from abuse to like just being neglected. But it's not that. It's you are partners in what you're doing in life. It's not like, well, I have my money in my account, I'm going to have my job, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And then just, like, spiritually, like, I recognize that he has more of a love and more priority towards Christ than me. And so, like, I recognize that and I accept that. And like I said, it's not leading these separate lives and we're just, like, these roommates that live together. Like, we run things by each other, and I don't just make my own decisions. Like, I let him. I was just thinking, like, learning each other's love languages and stuff and having that kind of information is helpful because, like he said, like, when you're selfless with each other, like, sometimes that looks different for different people.
Yeah.
I thought I was the biggest jerk for years with previous relationships because whenever they would write me notes or, like, poems or songs even, I was like, don't care.
Right.
I'm like, why am I such a jerk?
Yeah, because all the other girls were like, oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
Do that for me all the
Some
time.
girls would die. Like, and that would be me did not care.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I never kept any of that stuff. I was like, whatever. So, and I thought I was the biggest jerk ever. But now, like, being with Brady, and then after learning, like, he's trying to show me love by acts of service because he's a really, really big servant. And he obviously comes by that very, very honestly because I could see that in his grandfather and his dad. So, I was like, oh, that's how he shows me love. That's not how I would, like, prefer to receive love, but now I'm learning that that's his way of showing me love. And so, and then in turn, recognizing the fact that he likes to receive love through physical touch and from words of affirmation. I was like, and it makes a big difference when you realize those things, and you also, since he's a man, you respect him.
Yeah.
Then it just, like, throws more into this love-respect cycle.
Yeah.
Like, if I respect him, which I always did, and that's what always stood out to my mom when I first started dating Brady, she's like, I knew Brady was different because you told me that you respected him, and you had never said that about any other guy.
Huh.
So because I respect him, men in turn respond to respect with that love and affirmation and like affection that women need, so that it's just like a cycle thing.
Yeah.
So, and I think respecting your husband kind of goes hand in hand with being submissive. That's not all, but I'm just saying that's a huge component. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of other practical submission things, because submission just sounds like this nasty, ugly word that women don't like. But on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't look like what people perceive.
Okay, so for love languages, though, is it like what you like or what you like to give?
Well, I think there's both, right? Because, like, you enjoy getting words of affirmation like crazy from other people, and, like, from me, too. Mm-hmm. And obviously, no one else should give you the affirmation or the love language of physical touch. So, you know. Oh, that's another thing, is that was big for me when I got married and going through Pastor Trotter, Mark Trotter's Woman Up, Man Up, was that as a wife, you are the only one who can give that gift to your husband. Mm-hmm. And men do need physical touch and, like, that sexual relationship. They need that. And you are given the blessing and privilege of being able to be the only one to provide that for him. And that was very interesting, because I had never, ever had that perspective before. I thought it was men just use you. Mm-hmm. You're just an object. You're just, you know, a thing. And that's just another thing. Yeah. But that's not it either. So I think maybe that's one way of being submissive, is recognizing that this is a helpful tool, not only for the both of you, but especially for the man, because that's a huge struggle for men every day, all day, every day. Right. Would you agree that that's a way of me being submissive?
Yeah. The only, like, the reason submissive is such a foul word today is because our culture puts so much emphasis on, like, what we were talking about, success. And it's like, oh, well, if you make a lot of money and you have a lot of power and like physical strength, then that's what success is, and then you'll be praised by society and stuff. When, like, in actuality, the way that God designed us, we both have very extreme power, like, in our roles. So, like, for example, women in general are much better at nurturing and raising children, and like that's extremely powerful because that's extremely important. And like raising your kids to love Jesus and to ultimately produce potentially hundreds of more Christians,
Right. Potentially hundreds.
yeah, like if they're good at
Are they
it,
a rabbit?
if they're good at it. No, not by breeding them, but by discipling people.
I see.
Anyway, that's power. And also, like, guess what? Women have very intense power over men. Because if you wear something that is very skimpy, like, as a woman, there are going to be very few guys who it's very easy for them to just not look at your body. And that's power. Like, that's power that women don't even realize that they have, or that they're abusing when they wear skimpy clothes, for example. Because, like, even Christian men who love Jesus and have maybe done a good job of getting over themselves that day and dying to self and deciding that they are going to actively pursue Christ with their whole lives are still going to have trouble not taking a second glance at that girl who is not wearing as much clothing as she should be.
Right.
And that's power.
Right.
So to say that, like, oh, if you don't make as much money and women can do the same things that men can do, like, well, no, they can't. And they, like, God designed us for different roles, but each role has extreme strengths.
Wait, there was a John Chris joke, and it was like at a men's retreat or something. But it was like funny because like they were like just talking about struggles and stuff, and like there were like all these men crying, and he looks over and he's like, it's probably porn. It's probably a porn problem. It's so funny.
That's hilarious.
Alright. Got a reason to sing and celebrate. I was bought by his blood and amazing grace. I've got a reason to sing and celebrate. I was bought by his blood and amazing grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now
I feel like the audience is probably my age, and single people or people in relationships. I don't know about a lot of people married, but
It's going to be the fight of your life, but it's worth it.
you don't have any. Just do one last word of advice to your 22 or 23-year-old self.
Man. What about...
You're nailing it, bro.
He goes back. Hey, I'm your future self. I just want to let you know. You nailed it.
Keep it up.
Like, wow, is that what I look like? Oh, dang. Let's compare muscles. Let's compare biceps.
No, I worked out a lot when I was 22, so that
Can
wouldn't
I
be
say something to
enjoyable.
my 17-year-old self?
Yeah.
Because I think 22 and 23 was when I was with Brady.
Oh, yeah.
I would say to her, God knows what's best for you. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
don't mess it up.
No pressure, but
Like, you don't know what you want. You won't know what you want or need. That's the thing, is you don't know what you need, but God does. So you need to wait for it and don't mess it up. Which, I didn't mess it up. So.
Yeah, I would say, bro, don't worry. God's got a super hot woman in line for you.
yeah.
No, but for realsies, kind of along those lines, I was talking to some gentlemen back when I was single, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I need a girlfriend. And I asked Danny, one of the guys that goes to our church, and I was like, listen, Danny, I mean, how did you do it? How did you get a girlfriend? And he was like, you know what, Brady? It's like my dad always tells me. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And I was like, wow, your dad is a really wise man. He said that? I'm just kidding. That's in the Bible.
It's biblical. Okay, that's what everyone says. They're like, you know what? Keep your eyes on the Lord, date Jesus, and someone will come to you. What does that even mean?
Well, that's kind of a weird way of saying, like, well, the end goal is to get a man, so just, keep praying and hold on to Jesus, and someday you'll finally end up with a man. Like, no,
right.
No. What he was saying with seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness and all these things is like, bro, just follow after Jesus. The end.
Right.
Like, if you never get married, if you never get rich, if you never get, a huge house or a really nice car or a super hot whatever,
Super.
then
What?
guy or girl.
Oh, I
then
see.
that's fine.
It's like, it's wife. What do you mean?
But that kind of goes back to the success thing. What
Right.
do you deem as success?
Right.
And I would say another big component is surrender. So if you are surrendered to Christ and from the perspective of, you know what, Lord, I'm going to be okay if I am supposed to be single. I don't have to like that, and I'm not going to like it. But I'm going to be okay with it, and I'm going to surrender that to you. And I'm going to hope that that's not the case.
I know, but God,
But-
please no.
Can that not be what your plan is? Right?
Yeah, like, God, I give this all to you, but dear Lord, please, God.
Because I think that sometimes, just like the Israelites, they were like, I want a king, I want a king, I want a king, I want a king, or we want a king. And then God was like, okay, fine, you can have a king, all right. And then look what happens. So I think that sometimes,
what happens?
For the
Like,
people
it ends up being
that
bad.
don't know.
so same
For friends.
thing, like, I want a husband, I want a wife, I want a husband, I want a wife, I want a husband, I want a wife. So maybe God gives it to you, but maybe it's not, you're not blessed, and maybe you don't have the life that God intended you to have.
Yeah.
So I think you have to, I don't think it's bad to hope, and it's not a bad thing at all to want.
Right.
Like, I think that's only natural. God designed us to want to be with somebody, but I think you have to have this surrender about it. Like, I'm going to be okay with just you and me, God, but I would really like it if I could be with somebody, but I'm going to be okay with just you and me,
Wow.
So, and I think it'll be really, really sweet, make it sweeter when God does bring someone to you, because you've surrendered it and like, God has brought this person and has prepared them for you and you for them. So I'd say surrender would be a big deal to get to that place spiritually. So you and Jesus time gets that place to surrender. That's
Yeah.
what I would think.
Wow, that's good.
Thanks for listening. This has been Brady and Brittany on Alexa's podcast.
Oh my God.
Thanks for checking in with us.
Thanks for checking.
We'll see you guys next time.
Stay classy, Columbus. Thanks, guys. Love you.
Love you.
Love
Bye.
you.
Love you. Bye.
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 Like, man, I'm so good at interviewing. But anyway,
No, I mean, I don't feel uncomfortable.
This isn't the most awesome
No,
interview I've
you're-
ever had in my whole life.
I'm not like sweating. It's fine. I feel great. I don't want to leave.